Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Hazy Sports Podcast. And Charlie, happy anniversary. The podcast is 1 year old. How are you feeling?
Good, buddy. Cheers to 1 year. I believe the actual 1 year is in a couple days, but we obviously won't be on in a couple days. I did a quick look at some of the numbers before I came on, and by the time this airs, we'll probably pass over the 350,000 views on YouTube. I would have been impressed if 100 people watched anything we did. So the fact that we're hitting some of these numbers is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride. It is funny when you talk about those views. When I went back and looked at some of those first clips, we were getting like 8 views, 12 views, and now we got that Don Cherry one going crazy. I think it's over 11,000 views, and it's actually got over 199 watch hours on YouTube. Just that one clip, which is kind of crazy to think about, but.
It is.
It's been a fun ride, and I wanted to catch up with you on your trip to Buffalo because you were there for your son's hockey tournament, and I know you attended a couple hockey games as well. And I'm just curious what the kind of differences are like compared to the old days.
So we were actually in Rochester for the tournament, and it's definitely all about trying to capitalize on money. Like, you as soon as you walk in, they got a merch thing that they'll make a custom hoodie or something for the kid. You can get his number on it with the crest of the tournament, and it's definitely different. There's no free meal for each team. We used to always go to the Paisley tournament and you'd get the roast beef dinner with the corn niblets.
It's funny. I was just telling Sarah about that. I don't know if the bar for excitement was just lower in those days, but that roast beef dinner that you would get after the games, and then we'd head down to the pool hall. I think we went in that Paisley tournament about 8 years in a row. I know we won it a bunch of times. I can't really remember that much of the hockey, but I remember that roast beef dinner and the afternoons at the pool hall in between games.
And so it's weird being on the other side of it now. Like I'm sure we were the same, but like the kids obviously want to win, but they're just having so much fun with everything else that was going on. It's almost like the games become a bit of a formality because they're just so overstimulated. Like we had the hotel obviously had a pool and stuff, and the kids are just going nuts in there. And um, shout out to the hotel staff because our kids were. I'm sure that happens. Like we had a whole floor where it was all just hockey teams, and it was just total chaos in the hallways and stuff like that. So, but they did really well, and they ended up running out of gas. We took all the kids to a NHL game the night before the semifinals, which was probably, you're not going to get the best performance when you're getting home after midnight. And they lost 3-1 to the team that ended up winning it. But it was a blast. It always seems like a pain in the ass when you realize how far you got to go, but it was a really good experience for all the kids, and it was definitely different than Paisley, but the same vibe for sure.
I guess the common element is when you're at that age, just being out with all your buddies, staying at a hotel, having a little bit more freedom and the ability to kind of run around, like you said, at the pool and the hotel. That's what it's all about, whether you're, regardless of where you're at. I think at that age, that's just like such a kind of memorable moment in your life.
It was great.
Cool. Well, that actually segues into a discussion I wanted to have with you because I was reading an article that The Athletic put out where they ranked all of the arenas in the NHL from best to worst. And basically the way they did this, that they broke this list down is they ranked them on four different categories. They looked at location, amenities, atmosphere, and affordability. So the top five, number one, Bell Center. That was number one by quite a margin. Number two is the T-Mobile Arena for Vegas. Number three was the Benchmark Arena for Tampa Bay. Number four was Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, which you've been to. And number five was Little Caesars in Detroit. Actually, Columbus was tied with Detroit, the same scores. And on the bottom side here, we have Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Rogers Arena, Vancouver, the Crypto.com Arena in LA, KeyBank in Buffalo was ranked second last, and then the Canadian Tire Center in Ottawa was dead last. You and I went to a game with a bunch of our buddies in that was a bit of a gong show, so we could speak to that. But before we get to that, tell me what you thought of the KeyBank Center, because I was only there in a suite capacity, so maybe my view was different, but I didn't think it was that bad of an arena.
No, we were there for Montreal Buffalo last Saturday, and the place was absolutely slammed. They put on a great show. Now, maybe it helped that it was such a Montreal invasion that the crowd was so good, but I don't know. I'm surprised it's in the bottom. I mean, it depends when they base this off because now the team's actually on a bit of a roll. So there was a lot of excitement, in the arena, and I found it pretty affordable. I'm surprised it's that low.
I think it must have like got lower on atmosphere just because of the survey was probably done before the Sabres went on this hot streak. And so
Yeah,
maybe you're looking at past years, just the general atmosphere. I'm not sure if the location's kind of an inconvenient location to get to. Maybe that brings it down a bit.
getting out of there was an absolute disaster. They kept closing off roads, and I know you got to sort of funnel traffic, but when you got 19,000 people and we all got to use two roads, it was a bit of a nightmare. But there's no surprise that Ottawa is at the bottom.
That
That has
was
got to be the shittiest setup in all of pro sports, I would think.
That was brutal. Like, I remember, we were there. There must have been six of us going to that game. So, like, I think a late afternoon or a mid
Yeah.
afternoon game. So we were having a few drinks before. You kind of getting a nice little buzz going and enjoying ourselves. Cut to hour and 15-minute cab ride out into the fucking middle of nowhere to this arena. All right, you get over that. You go there. The atmosphere is okay. I think it was like a meaningless game because the Senators were out of playoff contention and it was right at the end of the year. But
Yeah.
the part that pissed me off the worst is, so you get out, the getting out of the parking lot's a complete gong show. We took a cab there, so we're trying to find a cab, as are like 1,000 other people at the same time. So you're like, okay, no problem. We'll just grab a beer somewhere and wait the crowd out, and then we'll get it. There's nothing. There's literally nothing around this arena. There's no restaurant. There's no bar. You're just highways all around. So literally we're standing there for 2 hours trying to get a cab out of there. And, by the time we actually made it back to Ottawa, it really took a heroic effort to get the boys going again, get the energy for the party rolling again.
Yeah, it was terrible. And I mean, maybe it's changed since we were there. Maybe there is something around there now, but what a waste of like potential to make money when you got 15,000 people leaving. I will never go to another game in that city for sure.
Yeah, it definitely goes to show like the location of the arena has so much to do with the quality of the experience. Like that's what, Montreal kind of checked all the boxes, but one of the best things about it was it's right downtown. You're already kind of down there, tons of places to go before and after the game, close by. Actually, same with Toronto. Like the Scotiabank Arena is in a great location. It just it came in dead last for atmosphere and dead last for affordability.
Yeah, and like if you can go to a game in Nashville, that might be peak location because we stayed at a hotel. We were within 2 blocks of walking to the arena. The crowd was awesome. Affordability, maybe not the greatest. They have the cashless, there's nobody working. You just grab something but there's no prices. And I remember they had like these king cans of the high noon seltzer. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, I'll grab a couple of these. This will last us, most of the game. I go to cash out and it was $47 for two of those. But at that point, they've already opened it. So you're on the,
yeah, you got to crush them at that point.
but great crowd. And then you leave and you spill right out onto Broadway, which, if you've had a few, you're probably going to continue your evening.
Yeah, that would be a great little hazy road trip if we could make that happen sometime. I've only been to Nashville
Definitely.
for work, so I was mostly just drinking at a hotel bar after the meetings and then back to the airport. Let's switch it up here. We've got lots to cover today. We've got, of course, our Olympic preview, and we'll get into all that. We've got some Super Bowl discussion. Why don't we break it up a little bit and do trivia right now?
All right. Okay. So this week I'm heading to junior hockey.
Okay.
So the CHL is made up of the WHL, the OHL, and the QMJHL. It's produced some massive single season point totals. The Q actually owns the top six all time before Rob Brown broke it up with 212 points for Kamloops. But you have to go all the way down to 14 to get the top OHL single season point total. So my question is, can you name this former Ottawa 67, Minnesota North Star, and Montreal Canadiens star who holds the record for the most points in an OHL season?
That's a great question. So it
So
goes back a ways then if he played for the
yeah,
North Stars.
yes. So I can give you the year that he broke it or set the record. It was 77-78. I have a hint, but I'll save that for later.
Okay.
But you definitely know this player, and he's definitely a well-known. We'll circle back and get the answer at the end.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Well, let's dive into the Olympics then. Actually, before we get to the Olympics, let's just kind of close the loop on NHL because we're, I think, pretty much done games until February 25th. So we've got about 3 weeks here with no NHL action. And for the most part, the kind of lead up to the Olympic break was fairly quiet, but we did get another Battle of Florida come through. The game was a bit of a blowout for Tampa, but another great scrap between Hagel and Kachuk, shades of Four Nations last year, and those two will be squaring off again in the Olympics, hopefully, if we have a Canada-US showdown. That's got to be turning into one of the better rivalries in sports these days.
Oh, it's getting crazy. And I mean, it's too bad that Florida's kind of struggling because I'm pretty sure in the standing today they would be at least a first round matchup, I think. I was just looking before I got on here. But could you imagine getting another 4 to 7 games when it actually means something? Yeah, you're right. Even going back to the preseason when they had those 500 penalty minute games, and there's definitely a real hatred between these two teams. And of course, Kachuk's right in the middle of it. I don't know if you saw the build up to the fight, but he blindsides Kucherov and gives him the cross check to the back, and that guy likes to stir it up. But I think Hagel must really hate that guy.
I think so, yeah.
It was shades of like we talked last episode about the way Clark used to fight where he's trying to punch right through the back of your head. There was a few and Kachuk's probably lucky they didn't land, but Hagel was not holding back at all. And man, he's lucky he got out of the way of those.
It was nice to see Hagel kind of step in there and stick up for his teammate. But speaking of Kucherov, he's been on fire. We were just talking about that Art Ross race, kind of McDavid-McKinnon head-to-head matchup. We knew Kucherov was like right there in the hunt, but the last month or so is crazy pace.
If you are one who likes to make a wager, I would get him on the Art Ross right now. Think it's still better than even money, but he's got 3 weeks off to just chill, right? Like he's not going to the Olympics, so he's going to rest up and come back strong. These other guys, McKinnon and McDavid, are going to be going full out. And who knows, maybe take a couple games off when they actually do get back. So I think it's a smart bet for sure. But I'm not sure we've seen, other than the Gretzky days, a run like this. Like 73 points in his last 32 games is absolutely nuts.
And he seems to keep doing it, flying under the radar. His highlights don't get hyped as much as some of the other guys.
Nobody makes that like seam pass on a power play better. Like he tries things that nobody else does, but he pulls them off. It like Next time they're playing, just watch him on the power play. He can whip a pass where you think, "What are you doing?" And then all of a sudden, it's on the guy's tape. It's pretty
Well,
awesome to watch.
did you see that play from that Florida game where he had a puck coming, pass to him, and he fakes the one timer, and he has
Yeah.
like basically all five guys on Florida just like sort of totally biting, and then he just dishes it back to the point. And little plays like that you just don't see that much, like very creative.
You seen the clip where he actually? I think it's from last year where he's getting an outlet pass and he angles his stick so the puck hits his stick and like ramps off it to go to another guy. Like it's probably 1,000,000 to 1 that that works, but the fact that you even think about that and it does work is unbelievable.
It'll be interesting to see how that rivalry continues. It kind of reminds me of the old days with the Red Wings and Avalanche when you just knew every time they got together there was going to be some nastiness. It's nice to have a little bit of that bad blood back in hockey because we haven't seen as much of it over recent years.
Well, especially I had watched the night before Edmonton and Calgary, and I know Calgary's not in it, but that's supposed to be a rivalry. And there was a good scrap in it, but it was a kind of like you had said earlier, a going through the motions, let's get to the Olympics kind of game for Edmonton. And then you watch the next night, Hagel's looking to take somebody's head off. And I'm like, okay. I said after that fight, I sent a message to our friend Dave, and I was like, Hagel can be on every Olympic team from here on out with this tenacity.
Absolutely. Well, just a couple other things in the NHL will close out. The bread man got traded over to LA. I guess he wanted to be in California. He had a no trade clause. Seems like he was trying to go to a place where maybe the lifestyle was better versus really focusing on going to a winner.
Which I don't get. Like, he's 34. I don't, I mean, I would love to live in LA. It's minus 23 out right now. LA sounds pretty good. But why wouldn't, Dallas and Carolina and these teams that are actually have a legit chance at winning are after you? Why wouldn't you go there? I don't get that. But good for LA. They get some offense that they definitely need. I'm just not sure it's gonna move the needle there.
And yeah, just last thing on the NHL side, Barry Trotz retired, stepped away on the Nashville Predators. Any parting words for Barry?
Well, you could say he's really stuck his neck out for that franchise, but he doesn't have a neck. I don't know, it's kind of a weird thing. Like there were rumors that he was gonna try and take another coaching job, but I don't think that's actually true. He kind of buried them with some of these contracts from 2 years ago. So to push him out now is kind of weird with the trade deadline coming up. I think they said he's been in hockey for 40 years, so that's pretty good run for Barry, and he can
Yeah.
focus on economics now.
Yeah, well, we'll wish all the best to Barry, but yeah, he had a good run there. We'll let him enjoy his time with his family, and yeah, let's get to the Olympics, Charlie. Here we got
Okay,
opening ceremonies yesterday. Canada's lineup seems to be set. We've got Bennett and Jarvis out. Point and Cirelli, or sorry, Bennett and Jarvis are in. Point and Cirelli are out. How are you feeling about those switches? Obviously, the Point and Cirelli are injured, but how do you feel about Bennett and Jarvis being the two guys subbed in there?
Bennett, I get. Like, we don't really need any more skill guys. I was a little on the fence with the Jarvis thing, but I guess, being on the team with the Four Nations, Cooper kind of knows what he gets. I was kind of pulling for Zach Hyman to get in there, but then I was reading today that Jarvis he scored 25 goals, I believe, and like 18 of them are 5-on-5, so he can actually generate non-power play offense where I think Hyman really cashes in, obviously playing with McDavid, but I don't know, it's really hard to complain. I mean, we were kind of questioning some of the stuff at the Four Nations, and that turned out pretty good. So I'm going to trust John Cooper here.
Yeah, I get a little irritated with people that go crazy over these Olympic snubs. Like, I get it. You could definitely make a case for Scheifele to be on there. You could make a case for Hyman. But you put those guys in, and then you got the same people making a case for Jarvis and Bennett. So it's like, at the end of the day, do you think like the whether or not we win the gold medal or not is the difference between Jarvis and Scheifele, is that going to be what makes the difference in a gold
That's it.
medal?
If
So
Seth Jarvis is somehow involved in a last minute play, then we're probably screwed anyways, right? Like
yeah, the
I think he averaged like 8 minutes a game in the Four Nations, so it's just another guy that's super talented. I'm with you. I don't get the outrage. You want guys from the team you cheer for to be there, but these guys, I'm gonna guess John Cooper knows a little bit more about what putting a team together is like.
when the roster first came out, everything on TSN and Sports Center and all these, everybody's just losing their shit over this pick or that pick, and it's like, I get it. I guess it makes for compelling content or TV, but I find it kind of irritating when the original lineups did come out. I wasn't freaking out saying it was a snub, but the one guy I would have liked to have on the team was Bennett. Like, just some of those intangibles on those tough games, having a guy like that on the team. I was kind of disappointed he didn't make it. I wasn't losing my mind about it, but now that he's in, I'm glad he's on there. And then as far as Jarvis goes, the one thing I was thinking that might even be a difference is you got your McDavids, your Crosbys, your McKinnons. They're all great players. They're not exactly like big personalities, bring the energy type guys. Whereas like a guy like Jarvis brings that fun, youthful charisma. And maybe when you get down to that part of the lineup, you're almost looking for guys that fit in the locker room, that bring the right energy. And it just seems like a great personality, and probably when the games get a little serious, having a little bit more of that energy in the locker room. Plus he's obviously a great player too, but
Yeah,
I almost wonder if that went into the decision as well.
and that's the stuff we don't know, and that's why I say I trust Cooper because he would have seen him with these guys at the Four Nations stuff. But I am a little concerned about the Canadian goaltending, and I guarantee if you look at our Four Nations stuff, we probably said the exact same thing, so maybe it'll all work out. But Bennington has not been good, and I wouldn't be surprised if Logan Thompson is our guy by the end of this thing.
It's tough because everybody keeps coming back to the Binnington being that big game type player. Yeah, definitely. This hasn't been a great year for him. I think you gotta give him a chance to see if he gets that magic rolling, and maybe when you have that many great players in front of you, it kind of changes your confidence as a goalie.
For
And
sure.
but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see Thompson as the number one guy by the end of this thing.
So the other thing, and this is a Team USA jab, but I just watched Cole Caulfield light up the Buffalo Sabres. Like he had 2 goals that game. He probably could have had 4. Like, how do you not take that guy, or even to a lesser extent, Jason Robertson, like the 2 highest scoring Americans in the NHL, and they don't make the team? Like, I think that's going to be a mistake because I don't think the US is going to score a lot of goals.
Well, I think that's a good way to look at, if you want to call it a snub or who should have made it, is
Yeah.
a good way of looking at it is when your competitors are relieved that you didn't pick that guy. Like the Americans were almost happy when Bennett wasn't on the team. He's just a guy they didn't want to deal with. And I think most Canadians are kind of relieved that Cole Caulfield is not on that American team, because he's a bit of a game breaker. And, in those like tight games where goals are hard to come by, he's a guy you'd be most worried about.
And he's so good at finding space. Like, obviously, he's not a big guy, but we were up pretty high, so you can kind of watch the play develop. And he just seems to be able to find himself 3, 4 feet of space no matter where he is. And if you give him that much room around the net, it was going in. Like it obviously he's playing with some pretty skilled guys like Suzuki and Demidov who draw attention, but I don't know. I'm very shocked he's not on the team. I almost feel like they were hoping for an injury so they could add him.
But yeah, That one is a bit of a puzzling decision. But looking outside of Canada, USA, obviously, even you could throw Sweden and Finland in there. Outside of those four teams, which of those next tier teams are you most interested in watching, or are there any particular players that you're excited to see?
I will say right now, don't sleep on the German team because I actually think they're going to be sneaky tough to play. Goaltending might be an issue there, but with Draisaitl, Seider, Stutzel, like they have high end talent there, and I think they're going to be a bit of a nightmare matchup for some teams because, I mean, Seider can shut anybody down, and Stutzel and Draisaitl on a power play is going to be pretty deadly. They've also got Nico Sturm, who, he's a go to the net, bang it in kind of guy. I think
Yeah,
they're going to kind of be a dark horse in this.
JJ Paterka.
Yeah, Katurka's on there.
That's kind of the team I had circled as well, of just like whether or not they're going to be a medal threat. I don't know, but they could be definitely a handful to deal with. And I'm excited to see like what Draisaitl looks like as the clear number one. Obviously, he's been out there with McDavid as a 1-2 punch.
He's a different player. Like when McDavid was out or injured or whatever, he can take over a game. Just maybe not as flashy. He doesn't have the crazy speed, but he can definitely dominate a game. So I think they're going to be a tough out for sure.
Canada's first game is against the Czechs on Thursday. Kind of shitty times. That's one thing that's going to be a bit tricky about this. Do you try to watch what you can in real time, or do you try to like record it and watch it after and try to stay off social media? I think with Team Canada games, it's going to be almost, if the game's on at 10:40 in the morning, it's going to be almost impossible
Going to be
to
tough.
not find out the score until after you're done work.
Plus the scars of Nagano are still healing. I can remember getting up at 3 in the morning to watch Gretzky sit on a bench for a shootout.
Yeah, that one sticks with me too, and even like the recent World Junior struggles against the Czechs. So I don't think the Czechs are going to be coming in scared. Obviously, they've
No,
got
definitely not.
some great top end talent too, and so that should be a good first game to kick things off. Yeah, so shifting a bit from the hockey, taking a step back and looking at the Olympics as a whole, are you a big opening ceremonies guy?
I kind of watched like a condensed version, just, seeing Team Canada come out and stuff like that. I did see the Draisaitl being the flag bearer for Germany. That was kind of cool. But I didn't watch a whole lot of it. How about you?
I tried to watch it. I couldn't get into it. It's like I'm not, it's a lot of
A lot of waving.
a lot of interpretive dance going on. The announcers trying to tell you what this symbolizes and that symbolizes. Here comes Estonia and five athletes, and they're, taking pictures, and like you're gonna sit and
Which
watch
is
this for every country.
probably the absolute highlight of their life. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
It's not my cup of tea. But I am kind of excited for the rest of the Olympics.
For sure.
What
For sure.
sports outside of hockey are you most excited to watch?
I did watch a bit of the big air snowboarding the other day. That was pretty crazy. They had a really cool camera where it would pause the guy like in midair and they would do this 360 around him while they were doing all their tricks. I know you'll be watching the two-man luge for
That's
sure.
right. Big two-man luge guy. At one point in the Olympics when they were running the one-man luge, where the people need more luge. So there was some point where one-man luge wasn't enough, and maybe they were training somewhere and somebody was like, "Hey Bill, slide on top of me here."
I need a ride down to the bottom.
All of a sudden they're getting a little more speed, and two-man luge is going. But I
Which
always, what's
it's
that?
totally ridiculous, but now I kind of want to see three-man luge. Like if you can keep three people on there, I think that would be pretty entertaining.
I gotta think, with all the buzz around this heated rivalry, there's gotta be a two-man luge version of that show in the works.
Just call it stacked. Stacked dudes.
I don't think the fans can really get enough luge.
I'm probably gonna watch it, to be honest with you, but I would
Yeah.
like to know the origin story of the two-man luge. Like I guarantee somebody needed a ride to the bottom of the track, and this was the fastest way.
But if you were getting if like say you want a ride from me down the hill, would you not tell me to sit up on the sled at least in front of me? Like
That's a good point.
would your first idea be to be just lie down flat and let me lie down ass to crotch on you?
It is weird.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Do we have a two-man luge insider? I guess that's us. So we'll make sure we do an update on two-man luge, all things Olympics. I guess if we do an episode next Saturday, we'll have 2 Team Canada games to report back
Yep.
on the Czechs and I think France maybe on the Friday.
I will I'll take a look at the schedule too to see when the luge actually takes place because I feel like we got to stay on top of that now.
I gotta see if DraftKings has any any bets he can do because that would probably make it a little bit more exciting to
The
watch.
luge boost.
All right. Well, speaking of bets, we have one of the biggest betting events of the year coming up tomorrow, Super Bowl
Yeah.
Sunday. This one kind of snuck up. We got the Patriots and Seahawks. How are you feeling in general about the game?
I can't think of a Super Bowl where I cared less. Which, you know, like even when I don't like the Chiefs, I'm not a Chiefs fan. But the first year I was like, oh, I want to see this team see it through. Then the second year, I'm like, oh, can they actually go on a run here? Then you want them to lose. This year, other than I'd like to see Sam Darnold win because he was pretty much out of the league, right? Like when the Carolina Panthers don't want you, you're pretty close to working your way out of the league, and then goes to Minnesota, has a crazy year, and they say, "No, you're not the guy." So like that's the only storyline I'm even remotely interested in. But as far as the game goes, like I'll watch it, but I don't know. If it gets out of hand or I'm nodding off, I'm probably going to bed. What's your take?
I'm excited for the game. I hope it's a good game, but usually there's some interesting storylines. Like what I find most fascinating about Super Bowl is the legacies that are created or don't happen. Usually there's a guy like Allen or somebody that's finally getting their chance, or
Right.
Burrow, when he got there, was there a big tipping point where they get the job done, they sort of cement themselves in this sort of upper tier in the quarterback history, or when Mahomes and the Chiefs seeing their ascent to greatness. And the games in the past have felt like there's more significance or meaning in the historical perspective, where when I look at this game, like if Seattle wins, nice to see Darnold get one. Seattle gets their second Super Bowl, but there's no, meaningful storyline that you're going to be like, that really captured the essence of this Super Bowl. And then on the other side, you've got New England. Really hasn't been that long since we kind of got bored of them winning so many Super Bowls. So for them to get back there already, I mean, it's cool. I like Drake May. Yeah, like seems like he's going to be a good quarterback for the long term. But I'm not really ready to get excited about New England winning a
No.
Super Bowl again. I don't know if that will ever come back to me.
And I know this has been done to death, but they had one of the easiest roads to the Super Bowl, easy schedule, not taking anything away from 'em. You got to beat who's in front of you, and they did that. But it's too soon, too soon for them to be back.
As Bills and Lions fans, we've just suffered too much to be able to be happy for New England getting back there. But what are your plans for Super Bowl? You hanging out at home, going to any Super Bowl party?
We keep it in house. We might have a couple people come over, but I like to do squares for all 4 of us here, and we have usually like some candy prizes for the kids. Always somehow amazingly seem to win the prizes, so we do that. And then actually right after this, I'm gonna throw some pulled pork into the slow cooker, get her ready for tomorrow. I still don't understand for the life of me why this isn't on a Saturday. Like, you can imagine the
Yeah,
get-togethers you could have, right? Like Sunday's a
absolutely.
total write-off.
Yeah, I used to take the Mondays off work for a while. And then it just got to the point where it wasn't really worth doing that anymore. I actually kind of enjoy watching Super Bowls by myself. It's a bit of a counterintuitive to what the day is all about, but I remember going to Super Bowl parties every year for as long as I can remember. And then one year, I don't know if it was a snowstorm or just whatever I was planning on doing got canceled at the last minute. So I ended up watching the game at home by myself, just having a few beers, ordering a pizza. This is as much as I enjoyed that Super Bowl as much as any Super Bowl party I went to, because I actually it was a great game. I remembered the game. Like when you're at a party, even if you're with football fans, can be fairly distracting, and you finish the game, you don't really remember too much of what was going on. So anyways, yeah, I've kind of enjoyed just doing my own thing for the Super Bowl, getting some bets going, ordering some good food, get a couple cold ones on the go, enjoy the game. But yeah, so speaking of bets, I know we haven't built up a lot of credibility in our NFL picks going back to the early part of the regular season, but just for discussion purposes here, is there anything you're interested in, sprinkling a little cash on?
I've learned that the sporting universe does not care what I want. The Edmonton Oilers lost the last two finals. The soccer team I cheer for lost to the biggest underdog of all time to win the Premier League. Blue Jays lose in Game 7 of the World Series. So the fact that I want Sam Darnold to win leads me to have to lean towards New England plus the 3.5. And as a prop bet, I'm going to take Hunter Henry anytime touchdown scorer.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I also was leaning towards New England. I'm just predicting it'll be a close game. I could see it being a field goal finish, so I'll lean with New England. And I'm predicting a defensive touchdown.
Good call.
That's going to be my little bet that I put down. Of course, we'll have the Super Bowl squares going. Friend of the podcast, Zach Weber, I know does a big Super Bowl squares one. And oddly enough, I tend to have as much fun with those as I do with any of the other bets that I put down, because I just like the fact that regardless of what's happening in the game, usually you have
still in.
If you have a couple of them, you have some combination that's alive through each quarter.
So I'm in one at work, and I got 1 and 6, and then 1 and 8. So I may be in trouble.
That's
but
tough.
One year I had 2 and 2, and I won halftime. So anything can happen. But one more bet, actually, our friend Jeff, that's been on the show, he sent it out to me yesterday that he bet, and it's New England first series to punt, and it was just under even money, which I kind of like that too, because that Seattle defense gets after it early. So I think that's a pretty good one.
Oh, I like that. Everybody will be hyped on that first drive.
Exactly.
Usually the offense wants to just try to not make any major mistakes. So yeah, that's a good one too. I might have to take a look at that myself. What Bad Bunny song are you most looking forward to hearing at halftime?
I don't. So I work with some pretty young people, and I was asking them what. I don't know any Bad Bunny songs, and maybe I do, and I just don't know that that's who it actually is. So the one kid that I sit with, he's 21, and he's like, I don't know any of this music either. And I'm like, well, who likes this guy? But yeah, I don't know any Bad Bunny songs. Do you know any?
I don't either. This is, I think, the first time I literally don't know one song from the halftime artist, but I know he just won some Grammys and stuff like that.
He got
so
Album of the Year, didn't he?
yeah, I think so. So there's obviously a lot of people listening to this stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, it just hasn't been one on my radar particularly.
Well, maybe after Sunday.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe that's a good time to kind of wrap up our Super Bowl discussion and shift over to our weekly report card.
I've been reviewing your work. Quite frankly, it stinks. These reports you handed in, it's almost as if you have no business training at all.
All right. So I got an A+ for the Montreal Canadiens fans. They're great at home, but I could not be more impressed by the absolute invasion that they had at KeyBank Arena. We were sitting up in the 300 sections, upper bowl, And I'm not even joking. I would guess that 65% of the lower bowl were wearing Montreal Canadiens jerseys. And when the Canadian national anthem went, there was kind of a weird vibe because it was almost overwhelming how loud it was. And then all throughout the game, it was go Habs go. It was awesome. So the fact they travel so well, I just give a tip of the cap and an A plus.
I've got a C for Charles Barkley's optometrist. I've seen him on a couple interviews on the Dan Patrick show recently, and I don't know if you've seen the glasses that he wears, but you got to check this out. It looks like Mrs. Doubtfire. They look like ladies' glasses. They're giant, and I feel like whoever his obstetrician or optometrist that helped him pick those out definitely didn't do him any favors, and I love the guy. He's one of my favorites. It's hard to see how he could put those on and not think that these are not the most flattering look. So C for Charles Barkley's optometrist.
Like Costanza when he had the glasses from the Gloria Vanderbilt collection.
Exactly.
All right, I got another A for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I know I kind of pumped their tires this time last year, but they're now 9-1 in their last 10 since hiring Rick Bowness as the coach. And they're now just 4 points out of the playoff spot. I know we never got into going to see that team play and the vibe in that arena, but they got an absolutely awesome fan base, and I hope that they can keep this rolling and get into the playoffs. So an A for the Blue Jackets.
Got an F for the NFL Pro Bowl. Like, what are we doing here? It's now a flag football game, and Shedeur Sanders, after one of the worst statistical seasons in NFL history as a quarterback, is in the Pro Bowl. I get there was some injuries, and Drake May obviously couldn't play because he's in the Super Bowl, but NFL, are you not making enough money? You're not getting enough eyeballs already with your Thursday night games, your Saturday morning games. You've got games almost every day of the week. Who are you doing this Pro Bowl for? And I think we need to drop it. So F for the NFL Pro Bowl.
All right, I got an A again for Buck Martinez, who just announced his retirement yesterday. No guy has simultaneously brought me joy and also made me swear at my television as much as Buck. Great announcer. He's got that weird twang, which is like he's mobster mixed with database from The Simpsons, where it's like this real whiny, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but you get so used to these certain voices and you think Buck's terrible when the team's not doing well and you just want him to shut up. But I will definitely miss Buck and I wish him well, and it's too bad that they couldn't close it out. And with the 50th anniversary of the Jays, it's too bad he won't be back for one more, but I will definitely be swearing less in my living room. So an A for Buck.
I got an A for Patrick Kane. I know he's been getting a lot of attention this year, scoring his 500th goal, but he recently became the top scoring American-born player, passing Mike Modano. So another cool milestone for him, just more cementing himself as the greatest American-born player of all time. And another cool Red Wings moment in what's been a great, enjoyable season so far. A to Patrick Kane.
Okay, I'm keeping with the A's. I got an A+ for the PWHL Gold Plan. Have you heard about this?
No.
So they have a rule in place now to avoid tanking. So the way it works, once you're eliminated from the playoffs, this Gold Plan kicks in. And every point that you earn after you're eliminated from the playoffs goes in another standing where you can now win the #1 overall draft pick. So it stops teams from just bottoming out and trying to increase their odds. And it promotes, you want to win out for the rest of the season. I think it's a genius idea, and I hope other leagues actually adopt this. So big A+ for the PWHL.
Okay, I've got a D for ketchup packs with takeout orders. Now, I'm a big ketchup guy. I like a little more ketchup than the average person. But I don't know what's happened over the last 5 to 10 years where these restaurants, they do not want to part with their ketchup packages. I remember the glory days when you'd be at a fast food restaurant. They had those tubs of ketchup, and you just pump it in the cups, and you could just go to town with the ketchup. Now you got to like beg them for a third ketchup package. You'll order from Uber Eats or something. I'll put a special note saying, please send more ketchup. Like, I get a burger and a big order of fries, packs of ketchup. I'd rather almost have none at all. It's just a tease. So big F for ketchup packets.
All right. I've got an A+ for the Brantford Bulldogs fan experience. I've gone to quite a few games this year. It's such a small arena. Like, I think it maybe holds 2,800 people, and you're right on top of the game. Like, it obviously helps that they're the best team in the OHL and it's just talent up and down that lineup. But if you can go and see this team before they move into their new building, which will be a couple years out, it's such a cool, intimate experience. Like, I think there's only 8 rows around the whole thing. Like, you're right on top of the game and you're seeing some of the best players in the OHL. So A+ for Brantford Bulldogs hockey.
Nice. Well, that wraps up a great report card segment, Charlie. Now we're on the home stretch for this episode. Time for our outro and time for our trivia question. And I've been kind of like in the back of my mind circling a few names here. Why don't you just recap the question just to refresh my memory here?
Okay, so the CHL put up some crazy single point season totals. The Q actually holds the top 6. Rob Brown broke that up with the top Western Hockey League season total points, but you have to go all the way down to 14 before you find the first OHL player to put up a crazy amount of points. So can you name this former Ottawa 67, Minnesota North Star, Montreal Canadian player?
Well, that's a good one. So I guess one of the keys here is, and you don't have to tell me the answer, but I'm wondering if he played with Minnesota first or Montreal first, because that will kind of dictate how I approach this.
So he came in with Minnesota, was traded to Montreal, and then actually went back to Minnesota after Montreal. And I have one more hint if you need a hint.
Hartsburg and Bellows are the two guys from Minnesota that jump out at me, but I don't recall either of them playing for Montreal.
Okay, so do you want me to give you the hint?
Better give me the hint here, yeah.
Okay, so the hint to this question is this player won a trophy that Gretzky never won.
Okay, Calder Trophy.
Yep.
Well, Bobby Smith, I know did he play for Minnesota before he played for Montreal?
He did.
Is it Bobby Smith?
It is Bobby Smith. 92 points in 61 games for the Ottawa 67s.
I knew that timeline. He was like one of the guys that popped into my head in Montreal. I don't recall him playing. I don't remember, can't visualize him in a North Stars jersey though, but maybe.
Yep. Broke in with the North Stars, traded to Montreal, won a cup in Montreal, and then went back to the North Stars.
Okay.
We'd be doing a disservice if we didn't mention that number 1 all time is Mario Lemieux. 82 points in 70 games. Quebec actually has, let me see here, 10 players who put up 200 points in the Quebec League. That's insane.
Let me see how many I can rattle off the top of my head, because I know like you got Lemieux, like you said, Alexander Dagg's got to be up there.
He did not make the top 14.
Really? Okay. Pat LaFontaine?
Yeah, he's number 3.
Crosby?
No. Not in the top 15.
Okay.
You probably won't get any of the other. Actually, you might get one.
Okay. I thought there'd be a few more obvious ones, but
Pierre LaRouche had 251 in 67 games. The next big name that you'd recognize was Guy Lafleur, had 209 in 62 games.
Okay.
That's crazy numbers.
That is crazy. Okay.
But yeah, Bobby Smith, you got the first one.
Yeah, well, third guess, but I'll take it. Yeah, it's funny, from that era, the two main guys from the hockey card collecting days that I remember is Brian Bellows and Craig Hartsburg, but I don't think either.
I'm pretty sure Bellows was a Kitchener Ranger. Yeah. I think they actually just retired his number like a week ago. It's kind of funny.
Interesting. Okay, well, we lost another Canadian icon since we did our last podcast, unfortunately, but Catherine O'Hara, any thoughts on her career? Any particular movies or shows that you enjoyed from her catalog?
Yeah, she was pretty great. I don't know if you've ever watched Best in Show, but that's one of my favorite mockumentaries about dog show contestants and stuff like that. That one is really good. Obviously, Schitt's Creek is great. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've ever watched that, but it's pretty hilarious. The chemistry with her and Eugene Levy, pretty awesome. It's Home Alone. He was pretty great, pretty versatile too. You look down at the IMDb list and a lot of kids movies, which I didn't really realize, but yeah, she heck of a career for sure.
Yeah, I was reading a story that with her how she started with on SCTV with Eugene Levy. Apparently, just worked there as a waitress and just had the natural talent to just kind of to jump in, get on as part of that cast, and then yeah, I think Home Alone, either Home Alone or Beetlejuice would have been her big break. But I think her role on Schitt's Creek was, you know, probably my favorite of all of them. Pretty iconic with her Moira Rose character. So. Anyways, yeah, well, she will be missed, and just wanted to give a little tribute to her. Other than that, Charlie, I think that wraps things up. Anything else you want to touch on before we sign off?
A Canadian women's team plays today at 3, so I'm gonna take that in.
Nice.
Barring any norovirus breakouts, they should
Oh,
be dropping the puck.
this is the Finland game that had to get rescheduled, or is that one still not
That
happened?
one's been bumped. They're actually playing Switzerland today, so hopefully
Nice.
bring home a W.
Nice. Well, I'm just about to head out to watch my nephew play. That's why I'm rocking the Mount Bridges Cougars gear here. So going to
Nice.
heading out to Lucan to watch his game, and then maybe yeah, I'll settle in for some of that women's game after. So should be a good afternoon. It'll be fun to kind of follow along with the Olympics. Enjoy your Super Bowl. I hope your brisket, or what did you say you were cooking
Little
up for?
pulled pork action.
Yeah, I hope your pulled pork's tasty. Hope your bets come through, and enjoy the game tomorrow. And we'll look forward to connecting with you next week for our first recap of Olympic hockey.